Hello there, and welcome to another episode of the Stay Juicy podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Ariana, and welcome. So your eyes are not deceiving you. This is not a fake Zoom background, actually. I am in the Dominican Republic, and I'm here on a girls' trip. And I thought this would be the perfect time to talk about the science of sisterhood and why our female connections are so important. And I got to tell you, there are just times in my life where I love my husband and we've had some great times together, great conversations. But I got to tell you, there's nothing like one of those really, really real conversations that you have with a girlfriend where you can just put it all out on the table. And, I got girlfriends that are my ride or dies that are going to take some of those secrets all the way to the grave. Thank you, God. And then I have some girlfriends that, we just know how to have a good time. We don't take life too seriously. And then I have some girlfriends where we're just going to really get down into the weeds and really just dissect what's going on. But that said, before I get going on, let me just say, thank you all for your support. Thank you all for the comments. I appreciate you. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you could do me a huge favor and just like and subscribe, share with your friends. If you find the content valuable, I really appreciate it. Please comment. Let me know. What do you want to hear about? What are some of those conversations that you feel would be appropriate for us on the Stay Juicy podcast? And if you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, if you would do the same, like, subscribe, I appreciate it. So you will hear in the background, there will be some people who are walking by. They might be making some noise, and that's okay. It's a beach, so I guess I can't make too much noise about it. But again, I thought it would be really good to talk about the science of sisterhood and really what is the science? Because I know intuitively that when I spend time with my girlfriends, I just feel better. I just know it's good for my soul. But I started to research, is there a science to this? What is the science behind it? So I'm going to share with you why female friendships are so important, especially in midlife. I'm going to give you some science to go with the touchy-feely that you feel when you get with your girlfriends. Now, I've had the opportunity in the last week to facilitate 2 girl circles, or 2 sister circles, I should call them. And in these sister circles, my heart has been warmed by the fact that women really recognize when it is a safe space to be vulnerable. And really, you can just tell that women are hungry to get some knowledge. They're hungry to get to what's really going on. Now, this last sister circle, the one I did when I was at home, it was great. I think what I would have done differently is we would have started that part of it where we really got down to the nitty gritty and we started talking about women and menopause. Actually, it was a client who invited me to her home and she said, I have all these friends and we want to learn all of these things and we have these conversations, kind of side conversations, but we don't really get this opportunity to have it with a professional there or really a intentional conversation where we are dealing with what's going on with all of the things, right? So we started out the sister circle. Actually, she wanted to invite her friends to do some Botox first. So we did that. We actually probably spent more time on that than we could have, because once we got to what's really happening and the menopause, the sex part, that's when, everything just broke loose and everybody just really was ready to have a conversation. But that said, I realized, this is a good time for me to bring some of the toys, some of the information. And as a gynecologist, what I love about this role is that I can talk about these things. And I can really get away with it, basically, because, if I was a cardiologist or a dermatologist, I don't know, I could still do it. But as an obstetrician gynecologist, that's my life. I don't really do pap smears anymore, but I do spend a lot of time with women. And one thing I have learned for sure is that as women, we are going through the same thing. So many of us are experiencing the same situation, the same thing with our partners, with our jobs, with our bodies, with our self-esteem, with our thoughts, with our fears. And, we don't always have that opportunity to come to a safe space and be able to talk about it. And that's what the joy, that's what the beauty is about a girls trip. That's what the beauty is about a sister circle, that whether you are intentional or not, or just a pop-up sister circle that just happens. But what is the science around that sisterhood? Friendships are not just friendships. They're actually lifelines, and they are our emotional safety nets. And I gathered that actually last night in another circle that I was able to facilitate. One of my really good friends, actually from college, and several other people here are either college roommates, or I went to college with them. But one of my friends said, I don't have any friends anymore. And we were all kind of looked at her strange, like, wait, what do you mean? Because we know that she has friends, but what was really happening is that she moved to a different location. Her community was her church, was her sorority, her sisterhood of friends. So she moved her home about 45 minutes away, and she's also kind of living remotely in a whole nother state. But she realized on this trip that that's what's missing, like that's what's lacking. And sometimes we don't realize this until we actually are in the midst of it, like, oh my God, like this is what I need in my life. Like I need more sister time. I need time with other people who see me, who can hear me, who are not going to judge me, but where I can literally go to and unload. So female friendships create just a space where we can be vulnerable, where we can let our hair down. And when I mean let our hair down, I really do mean let our hair down. The group of women that I'm with on this trip, we went on a catamaran excursion yesterday. And when I say people let their hair down, they literally let their hair down. As a Black woman, one thing that's, I don't have to worry about this anymore because, yeah, I just shaved off all my head. But as a Black woman, jumping into the ocean isn't always as easy an idea as it may seem for other people. And what was so special about this was that one woman in particular, we got all kind of things holding our hair together. We got braids, we got weaves, we got all the things, but whatever she had going on, she was able to detach it, put it down, and literally let her hair down and have a good time. And that was it. And we mentioned it. She mentioned it in the sister circle afterwards, like the fact that I could be with a group of women and literally be able to take my hair off and feel comfortable doing that, because there's certain environments, especially as a Black woman, you would not feel comfortable doing that. And I understood that completely. And I felt for her. And I think back of all the times when, I was just not so much obsessed, but it was just like the hair was just, it was always a thing. And you just had to take into account what happens, if it gets seawater or sand, or if it gets wet, like what's going on. Anyway, I know all of y'all can't relate to that, but for those of y'all who can relate, you understand. She really did let her hair down. And that was a beautiful thing to see, because a woman is free when she takes her hair off in front of you. That's for real. But anyway, female friendships, often they create a space where women can be vulnerable without the fear of judgment. And it can be uniquely comforting because you can share your joys, your fears, your struggles. And even if they're not even your friends, I mean, sometimes I feel like it's even better in a way because you really don't know these people, and you can really say certain things, but know that it's not actually going to be with your family around, or some of your friends that you're cool with, but don't necessarily want them all in your business. So in this sister circle about a week ago, we were able to not only let our hair down, but also talk about those situations, right? And we talked a lot about what happens around intimacy as we get older, and what happens with how we communicate with our partners. We talked about, you name it. It was just about all the things. But sisterhood really does create almost that oxytocin. It's like a bonding hormone. Like we literally are better connected. It lowers our cortisol level, decreases our stress, decreases anxiety, decreases depression, actually increases our longevity. Studies have shown that women who are more connected with these friendships, these connections are able to decrease our stress and promote feelings of belonging and safety and calm. So don't take for granted your female friendships. They are not just your friendships, they are your lifelines. And you don't have to get on a plane. Girls' time. You can go to a spa. I mean, you can literally just go and have a lunch where you guys just takes an extra amount of time where you know you're going to just sit and be together. And it doesn't have to be a whole group. It can just be with one friend. It's just the community. So make it a priority to find your tribe, find your community, find that space where you feel comfortable without the judgment, without a sense of anything other than I'm here to be with you and to share with you and be intentional about it. So our friendships, they offer emotional safety. They have a healing power of sisterhood. If you're in your midlife, this midlife magical time, this is when we really have to navigate our changes together, right? Because so much of the time I hear from patients, clients, other women, they're going through the same exact thing that you're going through. And we're going through it in our own little silo, right? So I have the benefit as an obstetrician gynecologist to be able to talk to women about these topics all day long. And one thing I'm able to do is recognize the fact that for myself, it's been great because when I've been feeling some kind of way about my marriage or about anything, I realize when other women are expressing what's going on or how they're feeling about it, I'm like, wow, I'm really not alone. As a matter of fact, I'm doing pretty good over here. Or maybe, maybe I have some other things that we can strive for. But that said, there's something magical in this journey, but it's even better when you can share it with another person and know that you're not going through it alone. And that's in part what this Stay Juicy podcast is all about. Yes, there's a sexual connotation, but Staying Juicy is about self-love, self-care. It's about resilience. It's about discovering who you are. And yes, it's about staying juicy around life, staying juicy around extracting the juice and the best parts out of life. And part of how you're going to do that is doing that in community with your sisters. So it's beneficial to navigate this hormonal shift, the career shift, the empty nesting, the caregiving for aging parents. Female friendships allow for that space for us to have those conversations. And so we can normalize our experiences and we can know that, no, I'm not crazy. And not only that, you can find joy in the chaos of all of it, because when you're talking, we can actually start laughing about how ridiculous some of this stuff really is. And so for me, I'm an only child. And a lot of my friends have sisters, brothers, cousins, all the things. But I'm an only child. My mom's the only child. My dad's the only child. So I have a very small family. So I have the unique experience of really just being able to pick who my family is going to be. And we all have that opportunity. But for me, I had to be intentional because I don't have sisters. I don't have brothers, cousins. I don't have anyone else to really share that with. So I have really this opportunity to be intentional about the circle of women friends that I have in my life. And it's not too late to be intentional about your circle and about who gets to stay and who probably needs to leave. Unfortunately, as I've gotten older, I've realized the harder way that everybody's not meant to be in your life forever. And just because somebody's been in your life and was a great friend at one point, sometimes we realize, especially at this age, that we've outgrown some of those people. And we got to honestly figure out new ways to make connections. And that's not as easy because we don't have the same structure that we had perhaps when you were in high school or if you were in college, where we were kind of forced to be together, right? We were forced to have roommates, forced to just, it was just a natural community that we had. But as we've gotten older, as we have moved apart from each other, as we have gone into our own, relationships, jobs, those other demands that have come on us, we just don't have the same opportunities to create that sisterhood. Sometimes we create that sisterhood through organizations. Like if you have children, one of the groups that I call them my mom sorority. it's an organization called Jack and Jill. And when I moved to Tucson, I had no friends and I knew no one in Tucson, but I was a member of this organization, and I wasn't in the organization initially for that purpose, to find that sisterhood of women. But when I moved here, it was literally like add water, instant family. I had a group of women. We all had children around the same age. We were all dealing with the same struggles, and we had this community. So even as moms, if you're still in that phase of your life, you can still find community, right? But that community, again, I can't emphasize how important it is, but it helps you to gain perspective about where you are in life and how you basically relate to everyone else, because you guys, I promise you, you're all going through the same thing. So we're going to navigate these changes together as a sisterhood. And honestly, sisterhood, friendships, this is an antidote to loneliness and depression. Now, obviously, if we have like real clinical depression and lots of things, there's not that, a friendship is going to fix everything. But there's actually been research. So according to a Harvard study, women with strong social networks are less likely to experience depression and anxiety. Regular connection with friends acts as a protective factor for mental health, especially as women face life challenges in midlife, when relationships can shift, children leave, marriages evolve, and female friendships can fill those emotional spaces with love and laughter. So there really is data around this idea that we are better together. We have less depression, less anxiety, and again, getting back to the fact that we can laugh through some of it, because it's like, when you start, I don't want to call too many people out here, but you start talking about, some of the situations with your partners and what they do and what gets on your nerves, and you realize, oh my gosh, your husband does that too. It's like, okay. And honestly, like, I dare say that has been a really good thing for my marriage, because I hear so many women complain of the same thing. I'm like, okay, he's not an idiot, or he's not just, it's not just him. Like, I think it's just the gene. I don't know what it is, but I know I'm not alone. And as a gynecologist, that's been probably one of the biggest gifts that I get from my patients, is their vulnerability and me knowing what their experiences are. And my goal is, again, to try to normalize all of these experiences so that we know we're not alone. Longer, healthier lives. There is literally a science in connection. We know that friendships don't just feel good, they are good for our health. Women with strong connections have a lower risk of cardiovascular disease. Close friendships are going to ultimately last in longer lifespans. And laughter with friends actually boosts your immunity. So it's not that you just walk away feeling good, you actually walk away being better when you connect with your sister circle. Sharing the joy of our experiences, from wine nights to wellness, there's something magical about women getting away with a getaway. It's literally like magically pouring up your cup again, because it's like you get to almost relive a part of your youth in a way, but in a non-judgmental way. You get to have fun. I was on a catamaran yesterday with 14 other Black women. And let me tell you, if there is ever a time when there is music and Black women, what will happen is there will be line dancing and there will be a lot of booty shaking. And that is exactly what we did. We laughed. There was some footage, and that's okay. Nothing was too over the top. But the point is, we were able to, just do our little dance and get our little freak on. And, it was just fun. And we laughed at each other. We laughed. We had joy. And, yeah, we're not going to go to a club, at 59 and go shake around like that. But will we do that on a girls' trip on a catamaran, just in front of the girls, when we were just letting it all hang loose? Yes, we will. And yes, we did. There's something that's magical about that. And be able to have those inside jokes and create those memories. Friendships also keep you accountable, and they keep you accountable with love. So whether it's starting a new wellness habit, whether it's chasing a dream or getting through a tough season, friendships can also help you stay accountable to whatever those goals are that you put for yourself. I don't generally ask my friends to keep me accountable because I think at the end of the day, if I really want to be accountable, I will ask somebody. But probably for me, the friendship route is not it. And I don't, I don't say it's a burden on people, but I don't want to make anybody else responsible for keeping me accountable to myself. But at the end of the day, your friends can keep you accountable, especially on some level. When you say, I'm not going to do this thing, or I'm not going to, go out with these type of people, or I'm not going to do these things. Sometimes your friends are just a little one to be like, I thought you said you weren't going to do that. Or just reminding you what it was that you said you weren't going to do. And sometimes it's the things that you said you were going to do. Like, hey, how's that book coming that you said you were going to write? Or have you scheduled your mammogram yet? Or, girl, what's going on? When are we going to do our 5K? We said we were going to do this thing together. Sometimes you got to be that friend that keeps the friends accountable. And I'm realizing that about me. And because I keep looking around at my friends, like, why don't they do this? And why don't we do that? And it's like, you know what? If you want to do those things, you're going to have to be the leader and make it happen, because we're all saying, oh, yeah, we should do that thing. But it's not happening. And it's like, if you really want that to happen, if you want to create those memories, you have to create those memories. In October, I celebrated my 25th anniversary with my husband. He was there too. But it was 40 friends and a couple of family, but mostly my friends. I had friends from high school, two friends from college, a friend from medical school, and then just a tribe of women that have been in my circle really for decades. And let me tell you, that experience was probably one of the best experiences that I've had in a really long time. And I just remember that feeling when everyone was together. I was introducing like each person and how I knew them and how they fit into me and my husband's life. And even though it was, girls with their husbands, it was really more about the girls because, they brought their husbands. Their husbands were cool, but it really was kind of like a girls' trip, but we brought our husbands. The funny part is that at one point, several of us were literally just wading in the ocean in Turks and Caicos, having the time of our lives, just enjoying life. And I don't know, it's probably about 6 of us, 7 of us just wading in the water. And one of my friend's husbands starts to kind of come over and swim over towards the group. And we all just kind of looked at him like, bro, no, this is a girls' time. We are having girls' time. And we were very intentional. Like, we're out here and we're talking right now. So you go back to the shore with the rest of your guys and y'all talk about whatever you want to talk about, because we need to have a talk. And that's literally what we did. And we let it loose on the table. And I thought it was great because even though they were all my good friends, a lot of them didn't know each other. So it really was a space where we really could say some things, because you knew you weren't probably ever going to see that person again, or it wasn't that kind of party where this wasn't like, a family member or someone who's super, super close to you that you might be like, I don't know if she's going to repeat that. That said, there was a woman on the shore, and apparently her boyfriend was about to propose to her. He pulled out all the stops. Bless his heart. He had somebody playing a guitar or something. He had somebody singing. I mean, he did all the things. And we were just laughing gloriously because we were all like, 20, 30 years ago, we would have just been like, oh my God, that's so amazing. But we all looked and we were like, And I mean, all due respect, like, we're all married. We're all probably going to stay married. But truthfully, we were just like, girl, don't drink that Kool-Aid too fast now. Because we realized it's like, as women, we've been drinking some Kool-Aid. Like, and it's not bad Kool-Aid, but understand that, we have kind of been led to believe that we got to get to a certain point and get married and have kids and do all of these things. And honestly, if you didn't really follow that trajectory, nothing was wrong, but it's kind of different. These days, it's not as significant because lots of women are deciding and realizing that, partnering up isn't necessarily what they want for their lives. But the truth is that, it was really interesting because I know for a fact that if that same group of women would have witnessed what we witnessed 30 years ago, we would have had a very different response than what we had. And we literally started yelling to her. We were just like, don't do it. But we were joking. But we were joking, not joking. But honestly, it was just like, yeah, it looks all pretty right now. It looks great. But that's the reality. That's what a girls trip will do for you. It's really honing into what the reality is. We're not shaking any bones about it. We're not pretending that things are what they are not. We are keeping it real. And that's what real sisterhood is about. Not the people that come and are just like, everything is amazing and everything is great, because everything's not amazing. Everything is not great. And sometimes you just need to be in a space where you know that other people, frankly, recognizing that the struggle is real some days, and having a group that can appreciate that, knowing that, yeah, we're having the time of our lives. We're feeling really good about ourselves. We're feeling good about our bodies, our careers, but everything isn't perfect. And we just need to address sometimes those things that aren't so perfect and not pretend that it's all good, right? Because we get enough of that on social media. Girlfriends also can mirror and be a safe space, and they can show you who you really are. So your friends often can see the best part of you, even when you can't see the best part of you. And I have to credit my friends for this for sure, because, you know, it's almost uncomfortable. My friends will just go, oh, doctor this, and she does that, and sharing all these things. And I don't know, that's not what that's really not what I want in my sister group. But I will say it does feel good to be validated and know that your friends think of you in a positive light, and to hear from them how you have impacted their lives or what they see in you. And so a real sister circle is going to lift you up. They're going to tell you, girl, you got this. And they're going to tell you the good parts of you, because the world is going to tell you all the things that you may not ever want to know. But your true friends are going to tell you the good parts and even the not so good parts. But they're definitely going to be able to lift you up and see parts of you that you can't see for yourself, and really give you some grace and be like, yeah, you may have, messed that up, or maybe this, but just giving you grace, giving you the grace that you may not have been able to give yourself. Midlife friendships, sister circles, this connection deserves priority. Too often, our friendships fall to the bottom of our to-do list. We say that we'll get to that, but I challenge you now to put your friendships much higher on your to-do list, and understand the value of that connection. Understand the value of the intention of connection with people who are like-minded, who can be a part of your tribe, who are lifting you up, and who are a positive influence on you. I'm not talking about people who bring you down. I'm not talking about people that, are not good for your soul, who do not fill your cup up. If you got to go and hang out with somebody, and by the time you finish, you are feeling exhausted, or you're feeling irritated, or you're feeling less than, or you're feeling any kind of way other than, I'm so glad I had that time with my friend. If you're not feeling that way, then you got to make some decisions and understand, just because a person was a good friend for you 20 years ago doesn't mean that they're the best friend for you right now. Because in different seasons of our lives, we need different people. And sometimes people are going to show up differently at different parts of our lives. So I have friends even now that it's like, I realize that, wow, I don't have anything in common with this person. And I've kind of forced this interaction because, we've been friends so long that we kind of have to be friends. But it's like, but do we really? Do I really have to do this? I don't have that kind of time. So I'm not saying that's an easy thing to do, but it is important to be intentional about who's in your tribe, and be intentional about spending time with those people. And yes, you may need to be the person that brings it together. Now, if you're always that person never calls you and never does all the things, then of course that's another story. But sometimes, people aren't as intentional. They're not as thoughtful. And once you're with them, they're like really happy that you had that time together, but they don't really take that time for themselves, and they can't do more for you than what they're doing for themselves. I know some of you all are thinking, well, I don't have time to get away. You literally don't feel like this time away for yourself can be a priority because you feel guilt You feel guilty leaving your partner. You feel guilty leaving your children. You feel guilty taking that time for yourself. And I'm just here to remind you that you have to fill up your cup. And remember that when you can take that time to leave and to get away and to really cater to your own needs, when you come back, you are a better person. And you know this as a fact, right? But we still just condition ourselves to do for other people and feel like that girlfriend time, that time away is a luxury, but it's not a luxury. Make this type of time away, put it on the top of your priority list, and look at it like your health and your life depended on it. Because in so many ways that I mentioned, it really does. Why wouldn't you take that time to do the things that you need to do for yourself? And this is, you know, a disease that many of us have, myself included. So I'm not saying this with any judgment because I am guilty myself. And sometimes we may not feel guilty, but other people want to make us feel guilty, right? When I was preparing for this trip, my husband, he was halfway joking, but not really, because he doesn't have that kind of network of male friends that he's going to go together with and they're just going to do the hoopla. And some men obviously have those type of connections, but I think a lot of men tend to be a little bit more isolated, and they definitely aren't sharing in a group in the same way that women are, and really coming with that kind of vulnerability. I encourage them to do that. That would be awesome. I think it would be great for their health as well, but it just always doesn't happen that way. So that said, my husband, he kind of threw me a little shade and, oh, you going and doing this. And he's an accountant. So, it's tax season and he's working really hard. And I did feel some kind of way leaving. So I'm just like, he's going to be working really hard and I'm going to be having a lot of fun. And part of me was asking myself, do I deserve to have this much fun right now? Like, I just had a trip. Yeah, I do. That didn't take long for me to convince myself that I did. But there was a little part of me that was feeling like, so what did I do? I just cooked a lot of food and at least tried to give the impression that I cared about what was happening when I was away and took care of some things that would make life easier for him and my son. And I'm not saying that's an easy thing to do. That does come with, its consequences sometimes, but sometimes you got to just do it. And if you don't do it, you won't do it. And it will become a pattern and you'll kind of get locked into not getting your needs taken care of. And I know that can be a hard conversation to have with your partner, but honestly, it's the best thing that you can ultimately do for yourself. Taking care of yourself, and how you need to present that to your partner so that you can feel okay with it and they can feel okay with it. I don't have the answers for that. But what I do know is that there is nothing better than filling up your cup and feeding your soul the best way you can, so that when you go back to doing all the things you do, whether it's as a mother, as a wife, as an employee, as a boss, whatever it is, when you take that time away and you are able to fill your cup back up, reflect, love on yourself, relax, rest, all of the things, you're a better person. Like there's no getting around it. Now, if you're going to go on the trip and just be bemoaning the fact that you went on the trip and worried about how people feel about you being on the trip, then maybe it's not worth it. But I would tell you, if there's one thing I would share with women who I hear constantly as patients and clients who have this guilt around doing things for themselves, if there's one thing I just beseech of you, is to do it for yourself and just see what happens. Let the chips fall as they may, because if you can't do that for yourself, then it probably is time for you to look at your relationships. Look at, who are the people who are really there supporting you. And if someone doesn't understand that you need that space and that time for yourself, then there's probably some questions you need to ask about why is that? And sometimes we make the barrier ourselves. Sometimes we're the ones that are saying, oh, so-and-so, my husband went in like this, my boyfriend this, my kids that. But honestly, they're not even saying anything. It's us. It's this need that we have to feel like we're fixing the thing, or that we are, needed. And yes, we are, but it's okay. It's okay to take a break. It's okay to step away and fill up your cup. So, female friendships, getaways, time, sister circles, it's really all about self care. They are not a luxury, they are a lifeline. Research has shown that friendships are what lowers our cortisol, increases our happiness, decreases our anxiety, decreases our depression, increases our longevity, and at the end of the day, hopefully fills our cup up. Some of my best times have been with my girlfriends, and those moments, whether we've cried, whether we've shared, whether we've laughed, whether we've just tripped over our words and our feet and all the things in between, we still got each other's back and we know that we're going to be there for each other. So find your sister circle and let me know in the comments, like what was your most memorable girls trip and why? And if you can't go on a girls trip, what can you do to spend time with your girlfriends? What are some tips that you can give the rest of us in terms of being intentional? Sometimes it's just having a Zoom group. It's not as personal, but I have done this with my college roommates actually, because it was a suite of 6 of us and we just like to stay in touch. And so, like I mentioned before, I'm an only child, but I have been intentional, especially as I'm going through some challenges with aging parents and just wanting to understand what's happening. How are you feeling about this? Because I feel like I'm going through this by myself and I really need some support here. So I just called them out and said, hey, I know y'all aren't my biological sisters, but you about to be my sisters because I need some help with this. And I just set up a Zoom like every quarter. And it's like, if y'all can make it, then we just get on it. And just to see their faces and to know that they're there, and to hear what they're going through too helps me know that I'm not alone. You are not alone. You are not alone. You are not alone. Find your sister group, find your tribe, find that time, be intentional, get with your girls. Stay beautiful, stay brilliant, but most of all, ladies, you know how to stay juicy. I'm Dr. Ariana, and I will see you on the next one.